Hi! Welcome to another Film
Critters
Processes. What movie? We've seen a lot. We've watched a lot recently.
Yeah, we kind of have all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which do you actually want to talk about first? Because this is our very special episode. No constant theme between these movies.
Yeah, really two extremely different movies.
We have no idea how to categorize these together.
We'll probably just put time codes, kind of like back when we did like Annihilation and whatever other two pieces of shit we watched with that. And you can just skip to the one that's most theme relevant. Because this is
whichever you want to hear.
Let's start with Farewell.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it The Farewell or just Farewell?
It's The Farewell. So I don't really know how much time we can spend talking about this film.
It's a pretty straightforward. I liked it. It's well executed, but it is a very straight. If you saw the trailer for this movie,
you already know.
You know if you're gonna like this movie or not.
And you probably will like this movie. It's very universally relatable. It's very it's touching. It's very good.
It's very it's like personal without being while retaining that sort of universal tension of family tradition versus millennial whatever themes a variety writer would talk about this movie on. We're not going to talk about those. The Farewell, which you should go see, or I don't know if you'll be. It's one of those movies that's got a weird distribution model because it's like an A24 not quite C-roll, not like their stuff that they put out and then 10 years later you find out was released by A24. It's one of their this is our artsier film that we're shopping around, but not as heavily.
It got a surprising amount of distribution. It might still be in theaters by the time this goes up.
I think it's still at least at the AMCs around here. Kind of like one or two screenings a day, but it's still out there.
There was actually a quote from Lulu Wang, the director, about how for a short period of time, its per screen average for gross was better than the Avengers. She got that call or something like that, and she was like,
dope.
She was like, okay, what does that mean?
Okay, wig. So there you have it. The Farewell, better than the Avengers.
Better than the Avengers.
Actually,
truly.
That's not even a joke. That's not even a joke. It just is a better movie than the Avengers.
Yeah.
Even if you like superhero movies, I assume you have family.
Yeah,
I assume you have people you love and care about.
And to give a little bit of clarity, which people might know this or people might not know this. This is actually based off of Lulu Wang's doing a story on This American Life about
really. I didn't know that's where it came from. Okay.
Yeah, about a real thing that happened in her life, and The Farewell is it's not really strictly about It's not nonfiction. It's technically fiction, but because Awkwafina is such a different character as Billy, according to the director, but it's based off a lot of things that actually happened, the uncle breaking down at the fake wedding, actually supposedly happened in real life,
and they actually did the fake wedding that is in the movie. That's so funny.
Yeah, so it actually happened.
That was because I didn't do too much research into how much of this movie was real, but I remember watching it and being I know this is based on stuff, but I'm did they really do the fake wedding? Because I just want to say, fucking secret powerhouse of that film is the I think it's her cousin's girlfriend who's Japanese and doesn't speak Chinese.
Yeah.
And it's just so obviously having fun, but also having fun in the most oh, my boyfriend of 18 months is listen.
Yeah.
I know we've barely been going out. Not even 18 months, because it hadn't been a year. It'd been 6 months. I think they say in the movie that they lie and say it's been 18 months. But just 6 months into their relationship, just
it's
listen.
3 months.
It's
crazy
so
short.
Very barely starting, and he's just listen. On one hand, all right, this is gonna be a pitch, a compliment, a conceptual pitch. Good news. We can go to China, all expenses paid, and have a huge party.
Oh, my whole family's gonna be there.
Yeah. Bad news. We're pretending to get married.
I loved all the parts about about Nai calling her stupid because she doesn't speak Chinese.
It's so funny because people being like, no, like she's fine, like she's just like they barely even interact. I can't even understand what they're like together. I think she's stupid. And they say keep being like, she doesn't speak Chinese. She doesn't know what you're saying to her. You're like upset at her and like making gestures, but you're not even trying to explain to her what she's doing wrong.
Oh my god.
Oh, I love her. I love that her whole character is just like definitely was pitched on this and was just like, yeah, that real. Sounds dope. Let's do it.
Okay. So more lore about this film that I learned. I listened to a lot of interviews about this film. I haven't listened to the original, like This American Life or anything like that. But so at the end of the film, spoilers, the real life Nai is still alive.
Yeah, that was really sweet to see.
It was really, really sweet that she's, she, as of the time of this recording, as far as we're aware, has long outlived her diagnosis, which is amazing. Good work on her. She still does not know.
Really?
And they shot a whole movie in China, and Lulu Wang has had conversations with her family like, hey, this movie has Chinese distribution now, like in the area where Nai lives.
She can't see it.
She can't go watch it.
That's so funny, especially because like the way the movie ends, I thought it was gonna be I got it's spoilers for real life. The way the movie ends, I thought it was like there was a heavy implication that like she knew but didn't know kind of a thing, where it's like she knew that they knew, but she didn't want to say that she knew that they knew because she didn't want to like upset them for doing this nice thing for her.
Yeah.
Or that she knew she was dying but didn't think that the rest of the family knew.
Yeah, she has these like kind of discreet lines of just being like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, giving a bunch of money to Billy.
Yeah.
The whole scene at the end where as soon as she leaves, like you see her just like break down crying in the road, and it's like the only time you see her express emotion, like that level of emotion in the film.
It's so sad.
It's so good.
I was particularly like a really big fan of the ending. I think the dismount on the movie was hyper effective, and I think it brought everything together really poetically. And I felt it. It really hit home. Good job, Lulu Wang.
Good job, and good job, Aquafina. Because I was just like, oh, like a kind of not jokey, but that sort of like
my vag girl.
The post frat rap.
Yeah.
But like that opening the door to like rap being more like, yeah, you can just kind of like have a playful persona character. The my vag girl, killing it in this movie.
She did amazing. It's a movie that I immediately walked out of the theater and recommended to my parents, just to kind of be like, hey, I'm Ken. I'm Ken with this deadbeat bitch.
I love. I actually similar sort of connection point. I saw the movie with a friend of ours who's Cuban, and the reason I bring that up is because when we were walking up, they were just like, damn. Cubans are the same way. It's like what they said, and they're like, yeah, like I've had family like pull this kind of shit where they were just like, oh, I didn't know when to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like dying.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to upset you. I figured I'd like wait.
Well, that's another thing that was reported is that like people from all over the fucking world like responded to this movie and were like people from like Ireland, people from Russia, random ass places, just being like, yeah, my family does this shit.
And I feel like that's like a really like good thing that I like about the film is that it does a very good job of it has characters say things, but the text of the film, if you're paying attention, very consistently undermines what they're saying. Which is the family is very adamant to Billy, the main character, that like this is a cultural thing. This is a West versus like the West versus the East thing. This is like a traditional Asian thing, and like you don't understand it because you're too Americanized.
Yeah.
But throughout the film, everything that they chalk up to that kind of thing is like shown in some way to be like kind of a universal, just like, no, this is just like a thing families do.
Absolutely.
Like the first thing being like, in the first scene of the movie, Billy is just lying to her grandma about like everything that she's saying.
Yeah, 100%.
She's like, oh, like there's this incredible shot because in any other movie it would be like extreme close up to like underline it, but she's like says something where like the grandma's on the phone. She's like, "Be careful, I was reading this news article," which is such a grandma move.
Yeah,
such a grandma move of I was reading a news article about this. That like in New York, like they'll steal the earrings right out of your ears, and then you have to go to the hospital because they ripped them out. And she was like, "Well, don't worry, Grandma. Like my ears aren't pierced." And she goes, "You read the news article too." But as she says that, she like moves the phone over to like one side of her face, and her hair falls, and you can see that she has earrings in. Yeah, they're not like big earrings. They're not like like the camera doesn't zoom in on it. It's a very natural thing, but it's just enough so that like using the best of the medium to it, where it's mixing the video, the visual and the audio and everything of you, the audience, are hearing her say, "I don't have earrings," while you're looking at her. So immediately your eyes are going to go to her ear, and you're going to be like, she does have earrings in. Like she's wearing very, very small conservative earrings, but she's wearing earrings. Yeah. And it's like right off the gate, like the movie kind of opens, not with that, but like that's like that's one of the big scenes that starts the movie out. So right out the gate, it's like it establishes like, no, Billy's not like too Americanized. Like this is just the way, that sort of sense of you hide things from family or people you care about, because even though it'd probably be better to be honest with them, know it would hurt them, and in the end you would rather like take that onto yourself and like deal with the stress yourself than put that stress onto them so that you can feel better. And that even ties into the way in which she hides from her family, the fact that she didn't get the fellowship.
Yeah, that's, and I really love how that all ties up into the scene of Billy like talking to her grandma and just like, "Hey, I lied to you," and her grandma just kind of giving her that whole spiel, and like just a really great denouement to like kind of the subtextual plot of just like hiding the actual like illness from grandma, because you actually kind of see it throughout the movie, where like there's the element of like the lie, and then there's everyone's like obvious internal conflict and people kind of lying to themselves in a sense, where like for example, the uncle being like, "You're too emotional, you can't, she'll know," and then being the one to cry like at the wedding, and Billy just being like, "What the fuck? She's gonna know."
I really love how this movie sort of like, there's sort of like acknowledges traditions and cultures and stuff, and does make them very much like, these are things that are important to people. These are things that they put value in, but that, it's not like, in this country we drive like this, and in this country we drive like this.
Yeah, no, it's kind of, it has this really good like round table scene where it's kind of like shows everybody's individual like complexes and like where they stand on like how they feel about their identity and how they feel about like what their future is gonna look like.
And like opportunity. Yeah. There's like a class element to it that I really like.
Yeah, and Billy has this whole thing of just like, when we moved to America, money isn't everything. And they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? If you came back to China, you would be a millionaire like that." Yeah.
Like, there's another like a theme in the film that I wish I knew more about, like the political and development side of it, where it's like there's an ongoing subtler theme, very much so about like land development in China, because they're constantly showing like high rises going up, and they're constantly talking about, "Oh, this building is new," or like, earlier we actually drove past your childhood home, but you didn't recognize it because the neighborhood has changed so much. And like that was something where it's like it definitely felt like, okay, there's probably like a more specific to like the specific climate of development in China like commentary here, because they're definitely like going for stuff like the cheap kind of broken down hotel that just went up, also being a like very clearly like pay by the hour, like you bring like sex workers here to gamble illegally.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of that. I have nothing to contribute.
Yeah, no, it's like I wish I knew more about like the political stuff that like goes into that, because I was like, oh, there's, but yeah, no, it's like if I find an article about it, like I'm gonna probably read up on it.
Yeah, write in.
Yeah, if you know anything about it, like if you've seen something about it, if you just know more about like the context of those kinds of scenes, it definitely felt like they were included in an intentional way. I just don't have the like literacy of the situation to connect them to the larger film. The performances in this movie, though,
on point.
So good, so on point.
Incredible. All really, really good. Did you know that the great aunt character plays herself, and the dog also plays herself?
That's so cute. Which makes it even funnier that it's being distributed in China, and she's like, "Grandma can't see this."
She's in the trailers too, which is fucked up. Like the dog as well. Like, Grandma, you want to go see the new Avengers movie? Oh fuck. Bitch, that's you.
Yeah. So someone just like you go into the Avengers, they're like calling ahead, like, what trailers are you playing before this movie?
We have to know. Don't ask why. Just
okay, you're playing the farewell trailer. Okay, what order? How late to the theater? We will take shit row seats.
Goddamn.
Grandma, look, we're out of popcorn already. Why don't you go to the concession stand for 2 minutes?
Run, Grandma. Run, night. Don't you have to go to the bathroom? Go.
Come on, you want to go now before the movie starts, right?
Cut the power.
They just, like, the trailer starts and they just, like Batman style, just, like, pull the audio, and they're like, oh, sorry, there's an audio failure. What is this movie? Who knows? Just gonna skip past it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I was gonna say what a fun movie, but it's really not.
It's fun. It's cute. I love it. I like it. I like it. It's great.
I would call it feel good in the, like, bittersweet way.
Yeah.
It's one of the few films I've seen that portrays family in a way that makes me go like, oh, you know what? Families are cool.
Families are okay. Sometimes. So instead of our usual rating scheme, I actually want to... it's obvious that we both like this movie. So instead of our usual value rating scheme, would you want to be told if you're going to die? Like if you're terminal?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's, for me, it's because it's like, God, that'd be such a relief off my shoulders. I'm constantly just like, am I dying? So to just be told, yeah, I'd be like, fucking all right, cool.
I mean,
I don't gotta stress about it anymore. I'm too much of a hypochondriac for this shit.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you're my long lost child and you find out I got some like organ shit going on, just tell me. Give me a timeline.
Let me know.
Hit my line.
Hit my line. I think I would want to know. I think that's probably good to know. Get some things in order. You know.
To be fair, we also somewhat have the benefit of we're not like old, because like that's the thing that comes up in the film. Is she's like, wouldn't she want to get some things in order? And it's like she's like old, already remarried, like because her husband died of old age. Speaking of my favorite, absolutely favorite, most families be like this moment was when they light the cigarette at Grandpa's at Grandpa's grave, because they're doing like, you know, this thing where they're putting down food and various things that he would like, and they're like, no, you gotta unwrap it so you can eat it, and they light a cigarette and they go to put it down, and she goes like, no, he quit. I'm like, Grandma, no, he didn't. And he's like, yes, he did. A month before he died, he quit. Grandma, he just told you that so you wouldn't worry. And then just like they're just like bickering about whether or not he quit, and then like one of the other uncles is like, the man's dead.
Give him a goddamn cigarette.
Let him have a cigarette. The man is dead. What's the worst that's gonna happen? Such a brilliant like character moment. Like, I've been around family having arguments that like just completely just like inane, like, I disagree with this thing, and I'm just gonna like double down on it until someone is just like, this is irrelevant. It doesn't matter either way.
God, yeah, good shit. Well, recommend,
yeah.
And
if we are dying, please
tell us.
Please tell us.
Do not resuscitate. So yeah, scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yeah, that's
a summer hit.
Is it a hit?
No.
Thank God. Listen, I love Del Toro.
Of course.
And I liked the guy who directed the movie because he also directed Autopsy of Jane Doe. The premise for this film is Goosebumps dog shit.
Yeah.
It's literally the same plot as the Goosebumps movie that came out with Jack Black or whoever was in it.
That's very true. It's just some Jumanji bullshit.
Yeah, it's like, what if the stories that you remember reading as a kid were real? But the problem is, like, at least with Goosebumps, I feel like kids read those enough that they're like, whoa, I remember the slime monster. But this one, I was like, I remember that image.
Yeah.
The big toe.
I remember that drawing.
What was the big toe one? She wants her big toe, yeah.
Yeah. She wanted her
the
toe.
Jangly Man, huh? I don't remember that one.
Jangly Man was not in
the Jangly Man was some book. Jangly Man was some fucking Conjuring Universe bullshit.
Yeah. Meet Doti Walker, I thought, when I was a kid. All right. We have both read scary stories to tell in the dark when we were kids.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But I thought that was a scary story to tell in the dark.
It was.
I thought it was eerie.
It's a good story.
Yeah.
I went and I looked up which ones were going to be in the movie, and I read them all beforehand, which I guess kind of spoils some of those scenes. I don't know. But it's also like they assume that you're familiar with them in the first place, right?
Yeah, they really do. And my frustration is that, like, a lot of the sort of quote-unquote kills are, like, very against the spirit of the books. Or the book, I should say. I mean, I think they're sequels, but who knows? Because
they always, the whole point was usually that they would end on an implication.
Yeah.
Although the Scarecrow one, Harold, does end very gruesomely. The original ending in the books, I don't know if you remember, is that it's like two farmers arguing, and they have this. They basically the Harold Scarecrow plays the same sort of role in the movie that he does in the book, which is he's just like your angry outlet, where it's like the two farmers, like they had Harold as their ugly scarecrow, and they would like, you know, fuck around with it sometimes, and then when they were pissed off, they'd beat it up to get their frustrations out, and then it starts moving, and then they're like, it's probably just imagining that, and then it like starts walking, and they're like, all right, gotta go. And then one of them is like, shit, I left my horse back there. So he goes back, and then he doesn't come back. And the other guy, like, you know, like kind of gets closer to the farm and pulls his binoculars out. And what he sees is that Harold is on the roof again, because Harold keeps climbing up onto the roof up to the story. But he's stretching out skin to tan in the sun. Oh. The implication being that he killed the other guy and skinned him and is now making a scarecrow out of his skin.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah. The stuff that they actually do in the movie with that scene, really? Surprisingly upsetting for a PG-13 horror film.
What the fuck?
I was talking with a couple, like, I remember me, like, the people I saw with, like, yeah, it was you and like other friends. We were just like, that was, like, way more upsetting than I expected.
Gruesome. It was fucked up. He was, like, vomiting hay and, like, screaming.
And I will give the movie this. On one hand, I'm glad they stuck to everyone who was killed by these things dead. Mm-hmm. Except the two friends weren't killed; they were just erased or like disappeared.
Yeah.
So that way they could set up a sequel, which is we'll get into that in a second. But then, like, you know, on one hand, okay, the racist cop's dead. I guess the sister is all fucked up from spiders, but she's fine.
Right.
Anyone else who died, I guess, is dead. But the implication then there is that
the guy who was cop in this movie. They snapped a cop's neck in this PG-13 movie. Sorry.
But it's like, that implies then that Timmy or Jimmy, whatever the fucking Scarecrow kid's name is. So is he like permanently alive as that Scarecrow, or is he dead?
God.
Because he's TF'd into a Scarecrow.
Don't say TF.
Sorry. He's transformation fetished into a Scarecrow.
I mean, I think he's still alive. Like,
so is he just like permanently conscious as that Scarecrow?
Yeah, why not? Purgatory. Fun.
It's pretty. I mean, that's cool. I'm glad they stuck to that. I wish they gave us more of a clear sense. Because then at the end, they're like, and I know my two friends, Bimmy and Jimmy, are still out there. And I'm just like, what about the kid who's a Scarecrow?
Yeah, what about your bully?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess, you know, fuck him. But, like, aren't you a little concerned? Like, is he dead? Can he be resurrected?
God.
Is the Scarecrow still alive?
Yeah. Yeah. And then there was that, like, weird shit. I liked the effects. The effects were cool. I did like how a lot of the monsters looked, with the exception of Django Man.
Jangly Man, I think it looks the worst because it's the one that they clearly had to do the most CGI touch-up work on because it is a contortionist playing him.
Yeah, that stuff was interesting.
And so the scenes where it's very clearly just the contortionist is good, and then the scenes where he's like pulling himself into pieces and it's like cartoons is like, oh, this looks like garbage. This sucks, dude.
It was also just like less, because in the original story, there's this like weird thing where like he hears the voices coming from outside. That are like chanting.
Yeah.
And then the dog responds, and then he hears like a voice also responding from the chimney or something like that. So like there's all this important of like all of these people being outside, and there's something in the chimney, and the dog is talking, and then the head fall, and like none of that is represented in the movie. It's just like there's a head in the chimney.
And it says the funny line.
Yeah.
And then the head turns out to be the Jangly Man.
Yeah. And then it kills, and then it snaps a cop's neck.
And it snaps a cop's neck in half, and throws the body, which Jason Voorhees style at the
FTP, but like, very, very tonally strange.
Yeah, such a like again weirdly gruesome movie for very, very hard PG-13.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that weird like absorbing the kid into the lady.
Yeah, that was that scene was stressful. They did a really good job making that scene very upsetting and stressful. The absorption thing. You think Del Toro?
Let's not go.
I don't know. I don't know.
We don't have to go down that road. But like it's very I don't love it. I don't love to see it.
It's not. Let's be clear about this. This movie sucks. This movie is
really bad.
This is a Netflix movie. Yeah. And that it's a movie that if it comes to Netflix, you should watch it for the visual design because it's the monster design, everything is cool. You should watch it for like an appreciation of the director, like the way he sets up some shots. Mm-hmm. It's fucking Stranger Things bullshit. It's It Part 1.
Yeah.
It's Child's Play.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's this weird faux nostalgia, but like for intellectual properties that don't really suit that.
Yeah, for real.
Also, it's about Watergate for some reason.
Jay, we walked out of the theater and Jay like was insistent that it was about Watergate. So I don't really disagree.
So apparently it's more about the Vietnam War, which makes sense because they're more prominent about it. But they very ham-fistedly include a lot of stuff about it being like the eve of Nixon's re-election and the Vietnam War, and one of the kids is a draft dodger, which also I need to get back to because fuck that plot line.
Yeah.
But it's like all this stupid shit, and then it's like the big twist with the ghost is that she was actually basically murdered by her family to cover up their involvement in poisoning the town's water supply, and that's where the myth came from. On the eve of Nixon's re-election campaign, famously that he won due to a vast government cover-up where people were killed to cover it up. Okay. Sure. And then she writes a big tell-all expose in the school newspaper about it. All right. Weird flex, Del Toro.
Weird. Sure. Okay.
What's up with that girl being like looking like she's like 15 and the draft dodger being at least 18?
Yeah.
That was weird. Like when they were introduced, it's like, okay, he's gonna be like their cool older teen friend, and then it's like actual love interest stuff is established, and I'm like, I mean, like their ages aren't too far apart, but it is like still kind of weird.
Yeah, I think that the direction was probably kind of, or like, I don't know. I didn't like the performances, blah, blah, blah.
If they had been like established as like friends like since childhood, that'd probably be fine. But it's like he's meeting her at least he's 18 because he gets drafted in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And she's at least not 18 because she's still in high school.
God.
And is not graduating high school.
Yeah, the movies have been really doing that shit recently.
It's not we don't like to see it. Also, yeah, the performances are fucking
they're kind of
pee pee poo poo.
They're kind of pee-pee poo-poo.
That could be the script. It could be the direction. And the director's other film I saw, I don't feel like the performances particularly stick out to me. I like it. It's a good visual film. It's a good horror film. That's The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which they added to Netflix shortly before this movie came out, which is weird.
Fun.
Interesting, huh?
Okay.
It's kind of like... It's this thing I've been paying increasingly attention to, where it's like what movies get added or taken off of Netflix in anticipation of other films. Yeah. Like when they removed Toy Story from Netflix when Toy Story 4 was coming out.
Oh, God.
It's not...
Scammers.
You're not fucking subtle.
Hey, are you ready to subscribe to Disney Plus?
I am so ready to pirate whatever is on Disney. You know what's the worst part about Disney Plus and people like being excited about it, which they shouldn't, and if they are,
fuck you.
Fuck you. The worst part about people being excited for Disney Plus is that Disney apparently isn't going to be having most of their like catalog that isn't like family friendly on there. But they're not giving that catalog to any other streaming service. So there's just movies that are just being completely removed from the circulation.
God damn it.
Maybe that's just a rumor. Maybe that's not true. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll be like Disney Plus After Dark or something like that. But that makes sense. That's not a surprise to me fucking at all. They'll be like, oh, you want to watch an R-rated movie?
Disney
Buy a DVD, piece of shit.
Disney 21 Plus.
House of Mouse After Dark. Welcome to the basement of Mouse.
Jesus.
Another thing I don't love about this movie, the draft dodger. That's fine. That's great. He should dodge the draft. Yeah. And then at the end, he's like, I'm not as scared anymore. I'm gonna go off to Vietnam. And it's he is gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, he's not wrong. You do get sent off to Vietnam to die.
That's what happens. Yeah.
Especially like if you're like a non-white kid in like the 60s, like those were the vast majority of people being drafted and sent overseas and put into the positions where you're just meat.
Which another thing, like, all right, this movie has a whole subplot about like the racism aspect, which like don't think it's done very well, but who am I to say? Blah blah blah. There's like also this like weird costume design like standard where everyone is dressed like an iPod commercial and it's supposed to be like the 60s.
Yeah. It's when the movie started and it said 1968, I was like, this is going to be backstory. And then the main characters are introduced and I was like, is what?
Yeah.
Like these characters in the trailers don't dress, look, act, or talk like it's the 60s.
For real.
And it's like, that's a stylistic choice, but it's the wrong one for this movie. Don't set it in the fucking 60s then.
It doesn't make any damn sense.
Set it in 2003 and have the background thing be the Iraq War.
Yeah, coward.
Because then he's not dodging the draft.
Yeah.
Then he's just not going to war because he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Then it makes more sense that it's not like, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm willing to have the government forcibly send me off to war to die.
It's about bravery.
He should be brave enough to continue dodging the draft.
We all should. Yeah, I don't know.
In the sequel, it turns out that he's actually like a deep op, and he just like intentionally sabotages the War Machine effort, and meets John McCain.
Some Metal Gear Solid shit.
Yeah. He pulls some fucking deep espionage. And then like he gets his old friend, the red room woman to just like start absorbing kernels and stuff into it. And Jane Fonda's there, and they have a Jane Fonda joke about exercise tapes.
Oh my god. It's gonna be fucking Once Upon a Time in Hanoi.
Once Upon a Time. I'm glad we didn't go see that. Yeah. This movie made me angry enough.
Yeah, for real.
I'll probably watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at some point, but it was like, everyone I've seen who's seen it is like, if you like Quentin Tarantino films, you'll probably like it. And I'm just like, well, I don't.
So I fucking won't.
Not even for moral reasons. I just don't think they're very interesting. I'm just almost 30.
Yeah.
I just am almost 30 years old.
Keep doing this with you kids. So anyway, scary stories, not much to tell.
Yeah.
About these
in any scary stories to tell after dark.
Tell scary stories to turn off the lights.
Scary stories to next page, please. It really feels like... It feels like something where it's like somebody attempting to salvage something from like underwater, and it's like they did a great job of doing that, but it's like not a car you can drive.
Yeah.
It's still a piece of shit.
It's not really the most translatable. It's not super functional. It doesn't exactly stand up.
I hope they had fun. Del Toro. I don't give a shit if anyone else had fun.
Well, assuming he was on set, I hope he had fun. He was. I'm sure he was.
Yeah. What would I rather spend my $15 on? Maybe like importing or getting off eBay. Like, so the Animorphs TV show had like a really, really limited like VHS release, and like just getting the collection of those, I feel like would probably be about like $15.
Huh? Yeah, probably. I would probably splurge at that one costume store.
Oh, the one on Broadway? Wendy's?
No. The one that's by Northgate.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know the one you're talking about. Yeah. All right, yeah, that makes sense. Get like a nice little fun costume.
Yeah, get something for Halloween's coming up.
Halloween be
Scary
coming up.
season.
Oh, I can't wait for Halloween to come up because there's gonna be so many horror films that we're gonna see and talk about.
Yeah.
I like horror.
We like horror.
I've been seeing a lot of horror films. Hopefully, Baru will get her ass to Ready or Not, and then we can do an episode on that.
I'm gonna do my best.
I think you might have missed the time window for them that follow.
I did.
Those following.
I'm bummed about that one.
It'll probably come to Canopy, honestly, and when it does, you should watch it there.
Fuck yeah.
If you have the option at home to see They That Follow or whatever it's called,
Them That Follow,
them that follow,
them
follow. There that there then followed. Pretty good. It's a pretty good movie about snake handlers in West Virginia. I would call it a spiritual compliment to Winter's Bone.
Oh,
but way more stressful.
All right, good to hear. So what would you not have rather spent your $15 on?
I went to this really bad pho restaurant a while back.
Oh, really?
Called pho.com.
What?
Yeah. My first idea that it should have been bad was that it was in a mall area where there was a second pho restaurant that was popping off.
Yeah.
And so we're like, whoa, it's busy. But this other pho restaurant's not. That should have been my warning to not go there. I'm glad I did not I would have rather not spent that $15 on pho. I would have rather spent that on the Scary Kids Scaring Kids movie.
Yeah, I think that I would rather... I'm glad that I didn't spend it on seeing Child's Play again. Instead I spent it on Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites.
Okay, so we... Jesus. So we talked about the Stranger Thingsification of like horror and stuff. Let's elaborate on that. Brew, have you seen any of Stranger Things?
I've seen the first season.
Okay. Probably stop there.
Yeah.
Season 2 is not great, but it's not as terrible. Oh boy, is season 3 bad.
I'm not compelled.
It is. You'd probably get more fun out of watching kids with Funko Pops on YouTube play with like Scary Things Funko Pops. You know, like how the worst parts of the season 1 were like, look, we're the Ghostbusters. That was culturally relevant when this came out, and we're nerds.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
That's annoying.
There's a scene in season 3 where the kid talks extendedly about how New Coke is actually good.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm dead ass serious. And then guess what happened? Coca-Cola brought New Coke back because people just loved season 3 so much, and it wasn't a pre-planned advertising gimmick. That they brought it back, and I only knew that because the second that scene happened, I was like, "This is an advertising ploy. Were paid a shitload of money for this garbage scene."
Stranger Things. It's like prestige television.
Oh, I love prestige television. I love it when it reminds me that I love the 80s.
Oh, I thought about the 80s again.
Oh, I loved Ghostbusters. I love Seth MacFarlane jokes. I love Robot Chicken. I love having a room in my house dedicated to collecting vinyl figurines.
So in conclusion, we're going to go to the Funko Museum. And we're gonna
that's where we're recording our next episode.
Yeah. So enjoy.
Live from the Funko Pop Museum. It's Film Critter. But yeah, it's because of how popular and how huge that was as a cultural phenomenon. It's so obvious how much like modern horse shit.
Yeah.
Which I pronounced as horse shit intentionally.
Horse shit.
Just trying to do the like
in the notes.
pseudo nostalgia, and kids are being really mean to each other and don't act like children. They act like what adults think. They cuss and they say, "What the fuck? We gotta get the fuck out of here." Unless it's PG-13, and then they just go like, "Who ordered the chicken? Are they even friends? Probably not."
God.
I watch things like this, and I'm just like, I know you're only writing a trend, but it really makes me feel bad for like these writers' childhoods.
For real, yeah. Like every movie needing to be about bullies and getting bullied is maybe a bit much.
And like the weird thing where it's like, yeah, they're always getting bullied, but then it's not like the classic 80s bullying thing where it's like, we're friends and we stick together. It's like they don't seem to like each other much either. It really seems like a friendship of convenience, which is ironic because that's the biggest problem of seasons 2 and 3 of Stranger Things. But the first season of Stranger Things, the kids actually seem like they like each other.
Yeah.
Not so much in Child's Play or Scary Things.
Yeah. So in conclusion, stop making movies.
Yeah, in conclusion, just if you don't have a good idea for a movie,
you don't have to.
Stop making them.
Yeah, it's not crucial. It doesn't have to.
It's really just, you're just kind of making a deal with the devil, because inevitably you're going to make a movie with, like, probably a monster. Like, not a cartoon monster, like a human monster.
Yeah. Yeah. Some sort of fucking
Weinstein, reptilian bullshit. Yeah, some fucking just actual blood-sucking, like, actually eats human blood. I've been reading a lot about Jeffrey Epstein lately.
First thing you know, you're making a kids movie. Next thing, you're killing Epstein in a cell.
It's so weird that they actually, in order to get Scary Kids funded, Del Toro had to kill Jeffrey Epstein. He actually put on the big, the Red Room woman costume and snuck into his prison cell and absorbed him. That's why they had to use a body double.
So in conclusion, thank you for joining.
Thank you for...
In conclusion, Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. And that's the scariest story of all.
And that's the cover-up that this movie should have been about. You know what? We got some time. Speaking of cover-ups, The Hunt.
Wait.
The Hunt was the movie that got deleted.
Deleted?
Well, it was the movie that was gonna come out, and then they just were like, "We're not releasing it anymore."
Blumhouse production, right?
Yeah, it was like it looked okay. So people are saying, some people are saying like, "Oh, it was gonna be like right wingy." Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's necessarily true because part of that was based on like a leaked first draft script, which the other excerpts from it. I refuse to believe anybody filmed that movie. There's like a description in like one of the articles about it where it's like there's a scene where one of the global elite types is like just says climate change is real and then shoots someone with a gun, which I refuse to believe was filmed. And if it was, release the movie now. I need to see that shit. But yeah, they pulled it allegedly in response to gun violence and Trump, being like, it's Hollywood's fault.
Yeah.
But it's like they're still releasing Gemini. The Will Smith clone movie.
Yeah, Gemini Man.
They're still releasing, I mean, I'm sure if I pulled up what's coming out, there's going to be a lot of gun movies.
Yeah.
So I really want to know what was in this movie that they did not want to release.
It'll come out. It'll leak. It'll leak somewhere.
I hope so.
We'll see it one day.
I was just excited for it because it looks exactly like the kind of schlock that I just love.
Yeah.
Like just the trailer being like, oh, we're in God, they say it's like some like Eastern European country. No, they say it's Alabama. And then she takes the license plate off after killing the shopkeepers, which are like trained killers. And she's like, well, I can tell you this, we're not in Alabama. And I'm just like, this looks fucking stupid. I love it. This is some like fucking the Purge Hunger Games.
Yeah. God damn. Sounds great. Let's just leak it someone.
Leak it. Leak the movie.
Release it.
If it's bad, if it is as bad as that script suggests, definitely leak it because I need to see a movie where a character just says that's on the level
climate
of
change is real.
That's on the level of like The Day After Tomorrow when like Roland Emmerich had like Ebert and Siskel as like villains in the movie.
Oh my god.
There's not really a lot to say about either of these movies. Not because the Farewell is really good, but it's very straightforward.
Yeah.
And Scary Stories is really bad and very straight to the trash can.
Straight to the doo-doo bin. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Jay Bearhat.
I am, as always, Baru.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.